I'm going to tell you why I think you should pay attention to Korea, why it would be really wise, and why it would be really wise if you're thinking about looking forward in the world. If you want to be forward-looking and not backward-looking, you pay attention to Korea. You pay attention to China. You pay attention to the East. And it's just amazing, quite fascinating how for somebody like me who's really interested in world history and is interested in the rise and fall of nations and cultures and the rise and the fall and the rise and the fall. I am 100%, no question about it. And if I had children, my children would be studying about Korea and China. They'd be learning Korean. They'd be learning Mandarin. I would be sending them to study abroad in Seoul, not to Rome, not to Paris, not to London. I would be, listen, go for it. You want to be part of the future of the world? You go east. Think east. Imagine east. If I were running a university, these would be the language programs that would be blowing up, be looking forward. Look, let me just show you a couple of things. I know we don't like numbers. GDP, gross domestic product. So this is the sum total of all the finished goods and services that come out of a country. The finished goods and services, including things that are sold internally and that are sold externally. And let me show you this. In 1965, in the UK, the GDP in the UK was $100 billion. In South Korea, it was $3.1 billion. South Korea was a poor country. Like poor. The GDP in Ghana in 1965 was higher. The GDP in Algeria in 1965 was higher than in South Korea. The GDP in Malaysia, in countries all over the world that I could list them out, GDP in the UK is 2.8 trillion, and in South Korea, it's actually about 1.6 trillion. South Korea blew up. Things happen in a really, really serious way. Probably in the history of the world, in my study, in my understanding of the world, there's never been a country that has been able to do what South Korea has done economically. Never has happened. The future is, you don't go backwards. If I said, hey, we want to think about the future of energy, and here's what we need to do. We need to reopen a bunch of coal mines in the United States. You'd be thinking, man, you're like looking backwards. That's not the future of energy in the world. And you want to know what the future of technology and commerce and moving forward, you start looking in this direction. Utterly fascinating. Dude, I have nothing in particular, there's nothing about Korea or China or anything that I feel like somehow connected to. I'm an American. I'm just a person that's looking at this stuff. So here, let me show you one thing. So the Koreas, how many of you have heard of this word? Wow. Okay. So you're going to get something today. So the Koreans did something really, really fascinating. First off, just in terms of commerce, right? You know Samsung, right? So that's a Korean company, LG, Korean company. I mean, we can go, there are all sorts of car technology companies. So this is all Korean. In 40 to 45 years, 50 years, that has happened. And so I had this idea. This is a Chinese word, and it means literally Korean wave. And what the Koreans said was, you know what we could do? We could put our energy into culture. Selling culture and getting other people to consume culture, including consume our culture. And we'll focus on television, we'll focus on music, we'll focus on movies, we'll focus on any number of things that where we can put our energy, and we'll sell it to the world. The Koreans did that. They started what's called the Korean wave. You know, the singer Psy, or all these K-pop, concerted effort on the part of the Korean government and the Korean people to push these ideas in this culture out around to the rest of the world and get the rest of the world to consume and to, one of the K-pop bands, BTS, was at the music awards last year. And BTS. And like 10 hands went up in the air. And then last year, after it's been happening in the world for the past 20 plus years. So there's this movement in pop, in Korean pop, of male features. This dude's cool. Men, right? Men in here, right? This dude is a dude that Korean women find really sexy and handsome. Got it? Here's a dude. And so look at him. Look at what he's got. Makeup. So we got makeup. We have dyed hair. We have soft features. And you got the abs. All this. Gotta have the abs. So this dude is like the classic K-pop guy. Right? And if you look at all these K-pop stars and one after another, you see these photos and you see the guys are all the same and they're handsome. They're cute and they're handsome. And they're considered to be really, really attractive, and not just by 18-year-olds and 15-year-olds, but by 30, called K-pop, driven by a culture that is unlike any culture we've ever seen in the world.